So it's great to have Stuart with us this afternoon. I'm just going to hear a little bit about Stuart's story, particularly thinking about how Jesus and Jesus' words have changed him. So Stuart, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Stuart. I'm 65, looking forward to next year when I'm 66 and I get my bus pass, get rid of the car, but that's in the future. I used to live on Orchard Park, that derelict ground where the Orchard Park pub used to be. My mum and dad used to run that in 1970, 71, 72. So I spent my teenage years drinking cider in the underpasses that used to go under the roads. And I was one of those people who used to make people's lives a misery on the estate. That's a long time, though. I sort of drifted around a lot. I was a heavy drinker. I had quite a violent temper. I was known to be good at scrapping. Got married. Committed adultery several times. Got divorced. Had sex outside of marriage. Got into lots of fights. Got into trouble. Eventually got work. But alcohol can have a serious effect on people. And I had a very violent temper. It didn't take a lot to make me see red, and when I saw red, that was it. Get out of my way. Eventually, not that long ago, about 10 years ago, I seriously assaulted two people. I was living in London then, and as a result of that, I went and served Her Majesty's pleasure for 5 years. I was in Pentonville prison in London, which I don't know whether you know about it. It's a place I wouldn't send my dog to, let alone... in fact, if you sent your dog there, they would close it down because there'd be a public outcry. I used to be on G Wing, which is the biggest prison wing in the whole of Europe. 360 men, and from what I can remember, 36 showers, so you can imagine what it was like. It was an awful place. I saw lots of awful things in there. It's just dreadful, dreadful place. But cut a long story short, my padmate, my cellmate, said to me, "Hey, there's something going on a Wednesday afternoon at the chapel. Get your name down on the list." So I said, "Oh, I'm not interested in chapel." He said, "No, they've got cake and coffee, proper coffee, I've heard." Whoa. So because I'm in prison, proper coffee and cake, ooh, no. So I put my name down. It's something called an alpha course. I didn't have a clue what that was. So I went along there, and there was some, what I thought were numpties from the local church talking about this bloke called Jesus and God and all that stuff. And I was just thinking, when do we get the cake? When do we get the cake? And it was proper Marks and Spencer's chocolate biscuits and things in tubs, and it was fantastic. So the problem was you had to go to the Alpha course. Once you sign up for it, you've got to go. You can't not go because then you're in trouble. So I went along there every Wednesday, and they're talking about things and Holy Spirits, and I'm thinking, what are you talking about? Because I sort of was one of them people that blamed God for everything, but didn't believe in him. It's your fault, God. I don't believe in you, but it's your fault. I was one of those sort. I remember I was in my cell one day and I was ranting and raving about something. Somebody had upset me. And so I thought, I'm going to have a go at you now because I've been on this Alpha course. If you are real, have some of this. So I started swearing and shouting and probably, I don't know if any of you here have been in prison before, but anybody that has, you'll know it's a very noisy place. There's not much quiet in prison. But I remember sitting in my cell railing at God and everything, and my cell went really, really quiet, and all the noise of the prison sort of just stopped. And I looked to my left, and I thought it was like it wasn't a person. There was a light. It was just brighter than it should have been in that corner. And I thought, oh. I said, what's going on here? And I heard a voice as clear as day say to me, "I was with you when you committed adultery. I was there. I was there when you assaulted those two people." And there were several things this voice said to me about he'd been there. And then he said, and I'm here for you now. I'm Jesus. You have to come to me if you believe in me. And then all the noise came back. And I fell to my knees because I thought, oh, he's real. I didn't imagine that it was as real as I'm talking to you now. I heard this voice. And I said, oh, if you're real then, change me because I've had enough of my stinking life. Because I hated myself, the amount of people, my wife, daughter, all the people I'd hurt in my life because of my evil ways. And I went to the Alpha course next day or whenever it was and told one of the ladies that used to come and talk to us. And she burst out crying and she hugged me and everything, which was unusual because people didn't hug you when you were in prison. And I said, what do I do now? And she said, well, you'll need this. And she gave me they had a Bible. And she just go away and read some of John's Gospel. So I did. There was one part of it in John 14 where the disciples are sort of, they're a bit upset. They don't know what's going to happen to them when Jesus goes away. And Thomas says to him at one point, well, are we going to get to where you're going, Jesus? How are we going to get there? And Jesus said to them, I am the way, the truth, the life. Nobody comes to the Father but through me. And I'd heard people say to me, oh, there are many roads to God. And I still believe that there are, but it's when you get to the end of that road, it's what's there. Because you can be a Muslim and get to the end of your particular road to God. But is Jesus in your life? No. And that struck me and I thought, actually, that is it. Jesus is the only way. My cellmate next day said to me, what's wrong with you? I said, what do you mean? He said, you haven't sworn all day. What's wrong? What's happened to you? So I told him and he just sort of went, rolled his eyes and just ignored me for the rest of the time. Because I used to have a foul mouth. Every second word was a cuss word. I mean, bad words. And it stopped overnight. I'd not noticed it, but it stopped. Moved prison eventually, went to a Category C prison called Oakwood Prison in Wolverhampton, just before I was released. And they had a very good chaplaincy there. They had a wonderful man in charge. And I got going to church there and I got involved in the choir and we had regular Bible studies and really good Sunday service meetings. It was a Bible-based evangelical sort of chaplaincy. And it was brilliant. Whatever they tell you, I can tell you that prison chaplaincies work really hard and they're excellent people. Then I left prison. Got released. They gave me my £46 at the gate as I left. And it was all, I said, what's this? Because I didn't know we had that sort of like plasticky money now. I said, what have you given me? What's this? He said, that's what we've got now. So anyway, came back to Hull. Was looking for a church. Didn't know where to go. I said to God, what do I do now? Are you really there? Because I've not heard from you for like 5 years since you last spoke to me in my cell, and I'm not really sure whether it was made up or not. And a voice, again, I'm very fortunate, I'm very blessed, God has spoken to me twice. You may think I'm mad, but I heard the voice. I know what I heard. And a little voice just over here, behind me, said, Stuart, be reassured of your resurrection. That's all the voice said to me. That's all he said to me. It's a man's voice. Stuart, be reassured of your resurrection. I thought, yeah, you're real. So I went along, sat on a few walls outside churches, and I eventually made my way up to St. John's Church on Clough Road there. Sat outside on the wall and saw people coming in and out of church in the morning. Then I went at the evening and sat and looked. I thought, actually, they're a smiley lot. And some of them actually said, how are you, mate? You all right? I said, yeah. So I thought, I'll go there. Went along, met the the beautiful Melvin Tinker. I don't know if you know Melvin, beautiful man. And he took me in. I used to go to his house every week and have Bible study just with him. And he took me under his wing for a year. And that's basically what happened to me. And I'm here now, back at Orchard Park, looking at where my pub used to be, derelict tip. But yeah, so...
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
So this is how Jesus saved you,
Yeah.
changed your life around.
Yeah.
Now, Jesus continues to speak to us. God continues to speak to us in the Bible. Tell us about your relationship now with God's Word, the Bible. I mean, what does that mean to you? And
It means everything to me. It means the world to me. One thing about prison that was very good is you've got lots of time to think and you had lots of time to read your Bible. I actually thought, looking back on it now, that prison was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because if I hadn't gone to prison for 5 years, I wouldn't have known God and I'd still be where I am today. Probably some drunken wretch causing problems on some estate somewhere. So Jesus, to me, the words of Jesus mean everything. I love Bible study. And the truth in the words that Jesus said are just so amazing. It's truth, and I know it's truth, and I know in here that it's truth. I know that. And nobody can take that away from me. And I understand what it must have been like for the Christian martyrs back in the day, like when Stephen was stoned. You can do anything to me you want, but I will never, ever, ever deny my Lord, because I know what he's done for me. He saved me from a life of violence, crime, and misery. And I love the Lord with all my heart. And to read the Bible is just refreshing to me. And every time I read it, there's something new in there. Something different, something exciting. And it's just the best thing that ever happened to me. And if there's any of you here who are sitting there thinking, no, I'm not sure if that's for me. I'd have to do this and I'd have to do that. And Christians are a bit boring, a bit strange, like the big bloke with a beard at the front. Jesus is coming back soon. I firmly believe that. It says so in the Bible. It's prophesied in the Bible many, many times. And Jesus said he's coming back. When Jesus went, the angel said, Men of Galilee, what were you looking up there for? This same Jesus is going to return in the very same manner. He's coming back again. And when he comes back, it's too late then. It's too late. If you were to die today, and one of you may, God forbid, but one of you may, what's going to happen to you when you get to meet Jesus? Is he going to say, my friend, come in, I know you, come to me? Or is he going to say to you, sorry, I don't know you, go away? Because if you've had a lifetime of not wanting God, why would you be bothered with God when you're dead? That's what I think anyway. And that's about it, basically.
That's brilliant.
Hurrah.
Thank you so much for sharing with us.
You're welcome.
Honestly. Thank you.